right, thanks everyone for coming this afternoon. I'm really honored to be on stage today with some of the innovators in the content production space. A team that's been working together for the better part of 2 years to build out a truly state-of-the-art, modern, cloud-based content production and post-production workflow for feature film and episodic television at Amazon Studios. So I want to introduce Jonathan Lee. He's the head of media engineering and innovation at Amazon Studios. Ken Nakata, who leads virtual production operations at the studio. And Dan Duran, who's the lead post-production specialist at Red Digital Cinema, which is one of the most innovative camera manufacturers in the world. So welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today.
Glad to be here, Dan.
So Jonathan, maybe we can start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about your role and how you've looked at AWS and the cloud in general as a new platform on which to operate?
Yeah, so over the last few years, well, backing up 3 years ago when we really started building up Amazon Studios, it was basically a dirt hole in the ground, and we had the opportunity to, we didn't have to keep with previous conventions of how things were done, and one of the first things we looked at was how can we bring ease to the process, and how can we really transform the storytelling process? And we, part of that was building up an ecosystem in the cloud.
And Ken, you came to Amazon Studios to help design and build and operate one of the world's largest virtual production stages. Can you talk a little bit about that journey and how you see the cloud fitting into that?
Yeah, the decision was made to, like Jonathan was saying, build a home for storytellers. A big part of that is Amazon Studios has been a studio for a while now, but as far as stages and production goes, it's 3 years ago, it was dirt floors, build concrete, and all that business. So the job at that point was, especially during pandemic, was how do we, as productions were starting to get closed down for obvious reasons, was how do we start to greenlight them open again, and also build a home, now that we're building it up, build a home for storytellers that helps us bring us into the next century and with tools, and part of that was virtual production. And virtual production is production, so we've been doing it for a while now, but at Amazon Studios, it was how do we enhance it, expand it, and bring the tech, the team, and the tools up another level. So that was the mandate.
Great. And Dan, you've been at Red Digital Cinema for a while now. You've really seen several waves of innovation. How does Red see this opportunity now as we move into this world of cloud-based production?
Yeah, it is next in our IP-based ecosystem. What we did with Amazon is we learned from every generation. We started out with FTP, you can log in and download the clips, and I think you guys created a script to automate that, and then we're like, well, if you have a script now, why not actually just add the camera? So we added the camera so you can go directly to S3 bucket, which is really cool. And then how do we make that even better? And we worked on adding fiber out through Red Connect, which goes directly to your whatever you want to do. So we learn from every generation, and with the improvement with you guys, we made it even easier. So really cool stuff.
It's really nice to see you guys continue to innovate, and the Red camera's now essentially become an edge device connected to the cloud, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jonathan, maybe you could give us an overview of what you guys have built and how you're deploying this and how you're supporting your production units in this new world.
Yeah.
And I think we might have a little something to show as well.
Absolutely, yes. So as you mentioned, it's interesting when you mentioned edge devices, and that's pretty much what everything is for us now, whether it's with storage or with video transport and audio transport and then acquisition. And what we've done was we've built a studio around being able to work globally, and that was really key. Amazon Studios is a global enterprise, and part of that is, again, breaking down the boundaries of geography. So we obviously built the same capabilities that you would need to run a studio, filmmaking, acquisition, color grading, mixing, all that, but make it so that it's available with ease everywhere around the globe. And I think a couple months ago, we did a live demonstration. We lit up stage 15, did a virtual production shoot, and moved those files right into the cloud, and kicked off a full cloud production ecosystem. So, love to show you video of that. We have a really cut down version. It's about a 45-minute demo. Squeezed it into 5 minutes. I'd love to just show you that and kind of set the table.
That's great, okay. Thanks very much. If we could cue that video.
Hi, my name is Ken Nakata. I'm head of virtual production here at Amazon Studios. And behind me you see stage 15 that you heard Tim and CDC talk about. And we're inside the LED volume here. Right now we're on a rooftop bar, and I'm about to walk up on our beautiful Miss Heidi Hathaway. She's one of our volunteers for today that's going to help us with this demonstration. So we're going to go through 3 different locations that we have captured here. So this rooftop bar in Hollywood is one. The second one, for a proof of life, just to let you know, this is live. We are less than a mile away from you guys, but we're on stage 15, and you guys get to pick what our volunteers are going to wear for scene number 2. So we've got glasses, we've got nice bright yellow construction helmets, felt hats, beautiful scarves, and which I hope you guys pick, nice wigs. And the third scene is a surprise scene, but for the scene where we get to select a prop for our volunteers to wear, I'm going to hand it back over to Jonathan to select someone to help pick one of these.
B, Ken Nakata, the hard hats.
Hard hats, all right. Hard hats are the winners. Okay, so we're gonna go to the top of scene 1, and action.
I got snacks. Have you tried these before? Oh,
I don't think so.
you're gonna love it.
And cut. That was fantastic, thank you. Do we have are we good, camera? Camera's good?
So-
Performance is good? All right, we're gonna move immediately to the top of scene 2. You can see it took us 1 second to move to the mansion here, right at Culver City. So this is Amazon Studios headquarters. We have just landed inside of a garden party. And remember,
first
this
shot
is
is
where
already
we had the
its way up to
selection
the
of
cloud.
proof of life, so they will be wearing the yellow hard hats. Are we good? Camera ready? Roll camera, and action.
Hey, have you tried these before?
I don't think so.
You're gonna love it. What do you think?
I love it.
Really?
And cut. That was awesome. So Jonathan, I'm going to hand it back to you because we are going to be setting up for our third shot, our third scene. It's only going to take a fit.
Thanks, Ken. So what's happening right now is these files are making their way up into AWS right now. There's no unloading for the DIT cart, and these are actually the camera raw files. Over to my right, we have Santiago on Resolve and Jackie on Media Composer. Santi, have you seen the shots show up yet?
Yep, they're
Okay,
already here.
so he's going to start processing them.
All right, we're
making
ready, Jonathan.
Our editorial proxies and dailies. While we're shooting, no unloading of the camera. We started post already. How are you guys doing on the set?
We're
You
ready.
to go?
We're ready to go.
So
right.
scene 3.
Everybody marks, action.
Have you tried these before?
Oh, I don't know.
You're gonna love it. What do you think?
I love it.
Really?
Would I say that if I didn't mean it?
And cut. So you can see
All right.
how quickly we can change locations. You can imagine the benefits of that. And I'm going to say from everybody here at Stage 15, that's a wrap on principal photography. Back over to you guys. It is completely in the cloud. It's already there. And post can begin right now.
Thank you, Ken. Officially, we're in post. I guess you could call it near set, but it doesn't need to be near set anymore. It can be anywhere, but you can get the same thing done that previously we'd have to have a ton of gear on location. Santi has been getting files prepped and looks like he already sent some shots over to editorial. Santi, how many shots do you have there?
3.
Those will make their way over to Jackie, and she's going to cut a story together. What's different about working this way? How does this help you?
The main thing is the speed. We're running with a machine that has 4 GPUs. These are B Raptor files, 8K.
Yeah.
So usually you would need quite a robust post house and
Yeah.
a robust infrastructure to use it. And this minimizes all the investment that you have to do on-prem.
Have you sent the shots over to Jackie?
Jackie already has them.
Oh, well,
it's
it's
so
time.
fast that I can actually just take a pause and actually think about it.
You guys are working way ahead of me. So I think now we need to do our cut review. Jackie is working on Media Composer in AWS. At AWS and at Amazon Studios, we've been working on this for quite a while to get Avid systems native in AWS. We're starting to deploy for production. We're super excited about it. Jackie, you want to talk about how this stacks up against what you're used to?
It's really fast and it's awesome because usually you would have to go through a couple of people and wait many hours to get something in the editorial suite. While here, I'm just getting it immediately, right from set, so I can start working right away.
Collaboration across the campus, or it could be across oceans in real time.
All right, wow. Really impressive, guys. So we've got a sense of what you can do here. I mean, obviously you can do a set change at a moment's notice in a virtual production volume, but that's on-premises technology. But getting it right into post while you're still in studio, I mean, you had a first light pass and then right into craft editing within seconds. So how is that going to impact production efficiency? And what are you seeing as the practical benefits of this workflow that you've built?
Well, a myriad. So specifically with virtual production, what it allows us to do is immediately after a shot has been made, we're able to debayer it at full resolution in real time. And that's actually important for...
No transcoding.
No transcoding. And
so camera raw right into...
Yeah, Ken can talk about like why that's important, to be able to immediately look at a full res debayer of a shot as soon as you hit stop.
Yeah, sometimes when you're on set, and this is things that we're proving out right now, we're starting to roll it out into productions that are happening right now. And with Jonathan's group and AWS and all the groups, is we're looking at a situation where we can now, we're on a location, and this happens, where you're on $1 million day, or let's say it's a very expensive day, and you don't know whether you can move on. You feel like you've got it, but now you can really shoot it, drop it in, put it in the cut, look at it, and know with way more confidence we can now move on. This is a big deal.
So you're not talking about overnights or rushes or dailies. You're not talking about Dick Cart workflow. You're talking about right into first light pass.
And there's different grades of that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Can get eyes on it right away.
You're only ever one shot behind.
That's
where,
amazing.
as you mentioned at the end, it used to be, that's why we called them dailies. It was all the footage for the day that you wouldn't see until later that night or the next day. So that part has been is a paradigm shift, just the instantaneous availability of the footage.
And also, before you strike the set, this is not happening right now, but you have the ability to know, all right, we're missing this coverage or that coverage. There's a lot of possibilities, and this is not just you can see that in capturing locations and building locations. It saves a lot of money with company movements, first unit, second unit. But it also saves a lot with coming back and reshoots in terms of doing it right then. And then it's also, if you do need to reshoot, you can bring it back. All of these things that are in post allow you to plan, like fix it right away in real time, or plan better for the future.
Yeah, one of the most expensive things to do in production is to call a crew back, get talent back on set.
Happens all the time. You have to deal with it.
You have to do it in the day of. That's amazing, yeah.
Absolutely.
So from a manufacturer's perspective, or a vendor who's selling into content production companies, what are the benefits or the feedback that you're hearing from customers in terms of this, this latest wave of innovation, driving direct ingest of camera raw right into the cloud?
Yeah, no, like you said, like instant lease or whatever you're going to call them now are fantastic. It's like, even for editorial, but producers can see stuff instantly saying, hey, why is this happening on the scene, or what happened here? You don't have to go back, you can change it same day, which is crazy if you really think about it. And then I have two really real world examples this week from two productions that I wish were doing direct to cloud, because it would have solved two issues. One of them was a famous cinematographer, I'm not going to name drop, he'll kill me, plus it'll look, I'm going to throw me underneath the bus, but they had a mag where someone accidentally formatted on set, right? And if you format on set, there's, what are you going to do? You can't get that back. You don't have that security. When it's already going to the cloud, it's getting backed up, you don't have stress about it, you don't have an accidental format, it removes a step that could be a complete hindrance to a production, which is amazing, right? You don't have to stress about user accidentally doing something, right?
Yeah, how much waste is there in making a second, third, fourth copy just to mitigate risk? You go right into the cloud.
Exactly.
By default.
Mitigate risk, make sure you copy everything, verify everything, right? There's a lot of risk there. And that's another thing, is another production said, hey, how much do I need to record? How much data, how many hard drives do I have to buy? And I don't know if your director is going to shoot 99 takes or one take, I don't know. Where if you go direct to cloud, I have the exact amount of storage I need. I don't
You're not going to run out of memory cards.
Exactly, you're not going to run out. You don't have to worry about that aspect, any of that. It's pretty cool.
And what about the production units themselves? How are they reacting to this new technology in terms of, the ability to do the set changes quickly and all that in the virtual production environment, but also this time to post and for review and approval and executive, oversight?
Yeah, like with all new technology, adoption is a thing. So that's part of my job, our jobs, is to help show these tools are not just new, but they're viable. And the risk mitigation is a huge point. Cannot understate how important that is. As soon as, we've had brownouts and blackouts that affected our machine room and our stage, that if data were in the cloud, some of that data would have not been lost. This was a different issue, but for the many issues that happen on production, whatever it is, there is now a new way that, no matter what it is, this is how you present it. It's insurance, it's risk mitigation, and you've got it, and I don't see any other way to do it other than this way.
Are the creatives enjoying this new palette of theirs, the virtual production stage, and the ability to do more shots in a day or do reshoots quickly, or how are they reacting to this?
It's mixed. So the ones that understand it and embrace it are going full force into it and helping us innovate how to do this, because virtual production is still relatively new. With Mandalorian, it's, they've pioneered and broke that barrier into wide usage. Now that we're using it pretty widely, and I use widely with quotes because I'd say maybe 1% of filmmakers actually use it, but for that, it's now starting to grow. There's going to be a place where I've done this for decades, and I've done it so well, and I have all these awards for it, and I don't see why I should use this. And that's fine. You don't need to use it, but for those who are open, because it is more difficult in the sense of scheduling and budgeting. It's a different way of doing it, and everything that used to happen in post is now moving to pre-production, and you have to think about it a little bit different and plan for it differently.
That's a good point. Yeah. It's a little more upfront work, or more virtual art department type work, right?
And that's the education that we're starting to give, and as soon as they understand it, then they're like, I'm not doing it. A lot of the people that we've taken through the pipeline are like, this, I want to, now we're on the other side saying, don't use it for that. It's not for everything. It's not a magic bullet, but it is, when it's used correctly, it is risk mitigation, and it is a time saver, and for company travel, and all many reasons.
So are you seeing those efficiencies and savings? Does that drop into the bottom line on the production budget, or are they using it in different ways?
We're still solving a lot of that in terms of right now, every production, if you look at the scheduling and budget, there isn't a formula yet. We're still trying to work that out. Every production that, even at Amazon Studios that we do, has done it differently every time. And we're trying to get that standardization, and when that starts to happen, with standardization in terms of scheduling and budget, we'll really start to feel the efficiencies. But right now, we are getting efficient, but it's happening in different ways, and some places that gain that efficiency, because it's still locations, art department, set builds, all of these are benefiting, but I don't want to cause a stir, but VFX often holds that bag and post, and it's really should be shared because a lot of people are benefiting from this, and we need to look at where all of those benefits are. But because we're a studio doing it, we are looking at bottom line, and if the whole is winning, then we are all winning. I think it becomes that's
a shift to divisional labor.
It is a shift.
Because I can see you're driving efficiencies in post-production, probably less VFX work downstream because you can do more in-camera.
Yes.
So you're moving a little work from the downstream work into the upstream pre-planning and art department for the virtual background and things like that.
Yeah, and it is, virtual production is production.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of set building. Like our stage 15, it's 80 feet in diameter.
So
that's a very large set.
Traditional production design, physical set pieces plus.
Yeah, that's virtual production. It's both.
Yep.
Together, and that's where, all of that. It's not just virtual. It's not just a green screen. It's like this huge set that needs to be built, and looking at it downstream, and also with post being pulled up. Having a lot of this in camera, and color being brought up. It's always been global, but throughout the whole media chain. But it's still, we're looking at color differently now too, because it's not just the end color, but it's the color of the sensor, it's the color of the panels, it's the color of the content creation program, whatever it may be.
A lot more calibration.
So now all of these color systems all have to agree with each other, and at some points, it is a thing with each production now where we're solving it with each camera. Each piece of tech that we go down the line has to agree with each other in terms of It's not just color, frame, the whole thing. We're figuring that out, and it takes all the collaborators to figure it out for each production, because each production is different. Every DP will use something different than the last DP.
Well, I know if I'm a DP or a director, I'm going to use all those savings to do more shots,
Would
get more
hope so.
creative, to get that perfect shot.
I would too.
So I guess it's up to the production unit to figure out how they want to use that.
Yeah.
Now it's interesting though, when you talk about working with the partners and the community to really make it come together, especially in post-production and graphics and all the downstream work, there's a lot of vendors in the space. So how did you approach working with those partners and vendors and evangelizing your vision for a holistic end-to-end workflow, and what were some of the challenges you faced getting them on board?
Great questions. So our first approach to tool selection is, what tools do our storytellers want to use? So that absolutely, they drive that. And so with Red and Avid.
But you can't tell an editor to
no,
use this?
we cannot force feed to the creatives.
I always thought you could just do that on whim. Okay.
You can, but you'll get a bop in the nose.
Exactly. They have their tool of choice.
Yeah, so that's where it starts. Like, what tools do they need? And that's really where our virtualization program started. And that was the first thing we were looking at was editorial, and then color grading, and then cameras came along. And it was really we were looking at what building blocks are needed and where can we really start to drive value for them. And how we were driving value was efficiency, and some of the aforementioned, like getting our data in there into S3 as soon as possible so that it's backed up and protected in multiple copies, and that satisfies certain production requirements. And then the ability to bring tools that the storytellers want to use, and then being able to deploy them globally so that in this new era of production, global production, that the teams can work in the ways that they want to, where they want to, when they want to.
That's a good point. I mean, during the pandemic, a lot of folks moved to different locations to get closer to family or seek a different lifestyle. With this technology, you can truly enable that global workforce now. So are you guys doing that?
Yes, and that's also, even though we're sort of post-pandemic, many of those modalities of working continue. And there's editorial teams where they're like, we're not coming into to a facility anymore, we want to work from home. So that's been somewhat normalized in production now.
In fact, I think you guys had a big show you guys did recently, Rings of Power.
Yep.
And I heard the colorist was actually sitting at home in Idaho.
Yes.
Finishing the movie from home.
Yep.
I'm sorry, finishing the TV series from home.
Yes, yeah, that was early rendition of Color in the Cloud with Blackmagic, and it worked amazingly well. That was a paradigm shift in and of itself. That was like it was a global workflow, involved global video transport, but something that the storytellers really enjoyed and actually helped their creative process. It bought them time, and that was time that could go back into the story, which is the most important thing. When we drive value and drive efficiency with our tools, it's to go back into the story. It's not about penny pinching, it's about quality.
And you mentioned a few there, so we got Red Digital Cinema, has been a great partner to you guys on this. You mentioned DaVinci, Blackmagic, DaVinci Resolve. Who are some of the other vendors that are really pushing the envelope here?
Adobe, Filmlight, Colorfront. There's a lot of folks are getting into the cloud, and those are really the core tools that we've been focusing on bringing to our storytellers.
So what do you think's next? What's the next wave here? You've got the basic post-production pipeline work.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it myself. I had to go over and have Jonathan show me the demo. We actually sat on his test stage, shot the footage, and I walked right back behind that, and I saw the clips already populating, and I did the first light pass myself, literally in seconds. I mean, really impressive. But what are the pieces that need to come together next? How do you take this to the next level?
Well, I think now that we have all of many of the components cloudified, it's really about how are we going to look at what a global studio is. So for us right now, it's actually really at its core and heart connecting all of our global facilities together so that we really sort of dispatch with the notion of geography, And so it doesn't really matter where we are. And we're looking at how we're going to use that in our process differently than we did before. But part of that is, I think, integration, and then how we're saving time and how we can put that back into the storytelling process.
Very cool. So we've got a couple minutes left. Maybe Ken, you can talk about, you've been in virtual production for a while now. It's hitting this maturity point now where it's becoming fairly standard for certain types of productions to use it. What is the next wave of innovation that you're seeing coming in virtual production?
I think it still is adoption. Like Jonathan was saying, during pandemic, we by necessity had to invent these ways of working with each other remotely.
So the technology is not the blocker anymore, it's
yeah.
about operational change management
Right.
now.
But now that we're post-pandemic, that is still important in the sense that a lot of our filmmakers, after, the whole pre-production, production, post-production is getting a little bit jumbled, but so is when they come in and we need their expertise. So
yeah,
now,
I saw you were getting direct feedback.
Yeah. So now,
Intercom from the colorist or
Right.
the editor,
Right.
moments after the shot.
Right.
It was really
And the team, the list that you mentioned will not cease to grow. I mean, it's just, we're inventing new roles to help make the collaboration easier, but it's also production designer, director, and cinematographer, and all the heads of departments being able to see something that has been visualized, because visualization is also part of virtual production, being able to see what it looks like, being able to collect locations, bring them into place. That might be a lobby like Fortnite, and be able to have a host that takes them to all these different locations and be able to block out, this is what my action scene might look like, and then be able to take pictures and start building their location Bible, and then that immediately gets sent out to all the different heads of departments.
Yeah, we haven't even
scenery.
talked about pre-production yet. I mean,
all of this.
all the planning.
Right, and then people are no longer like, certain people are in for this amount of time and then they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
That no longer is the case. People are in for the haul and they just need to log in and say, okay, where's the footage? What does it look like? What have you done? And it's all almost immediate in the sense, like I was saying, a production designer puts this piece together, and then the cinematographers as well. How about we look at it through this lens instead, or from this angle instead? And so we have all these teams building locations, scouting them, coming up with how we're going to shoot it, and then this eventually gets back to budget and schedule. And all of this, which had to go down this line and had a lot of inefficiencies, but efficiencies as well. But it comes down to now we can all
elongated.
Yeah,
can kind of
we're all together.
together.
And that's a good thing and a bad thing, because sometimes you don't want we don't want everybody's hand in the pot either.
Sure.
But we have that option to control it and have the opportunity to make a really good system, to have the right people in at the right time, because the opposite is actually now the case, where we didn't have the right input and it's made it down the line, and now we're dealing with overages. And that's a big word in my field.
Yeah, it is. So Dan, you guys have been at the forefront of many waves of innovation in this business, from obviously some of the first digital sensors used in cinema production, all the way through the 4K, 8K, HDR, all those waves. What do you see coming next?
That's why we're here, to see what's going on, to collaborate with other vendors and with creatives. So we learn a lot every time a creative uses our camera on a virtual production. Like, one unique one is I was seeing a costume designer was putting on costumes, and they were getting the files instantly, and they were in New York saying, you know what, that dress doesn't work on this scene, or what. Like, we see that every single time, and how creatives are using it differently. So we're learning from that, we're improving upon that, and we're seeing how fast things are going. Like with Red Connect, we're doing 8K 120 frames per second real time to your computer or to whatever you want. So there's so many options that you can do with what you can do with that footage. You can do 4K crops, there's a lot you can do. So we're seeing that, we're seeing innovation being used, but it's really from the users we're seeing, because every time we see it, it's something we never even thought of. So, and we're learning from that.
We've come a long way from go develop your film before you can see your finished shots.
Yeah.
Well, we're out of time now, so I really appreciate everyone coming and listening to this really innovative story from Amazon Studios and Red. I'm going to hand back to Steve Samuel, but first a shameless plug. If you want to see the Red direct camera upload to S3, come by the AWS booth in Hall 5. All right, Steve.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, panel. A subject I think we'd all like to hear about for much, much longer. Some wonderful insights there.